Hey y'all, it's Portia and I am back. Finally, I'm back. And I am back with part 2 of Knowing Who You Are. I want to sincerely apologize that it has taken me 3 months to record this video. 3 long months. I am so sorry. So sorry. Like, when I tell y'all everything that I said in the first video was tested, and I probably failed every single test, but I was tried, okay? But I'm back. The problem is, you really have to practice what you preach, and I was not doing that. Like how I told you in part 1 about, staying strong in who you are, and, when God is about to, make a mighty move in your life, you have to prepare and all these different things. Everything that I told you in the first video, I did not do. When life circumstances just started, breaking me down, I allowed myself to be broken down. I forgot who I was. I didn't stand strong. I didn't prepare for what God was doing for me. Yet again, I may have missed it. I'm not even sure if I missed it or not. But I just know, like, in that time, this 3-month time span, like, my living situation has been tested, my employment situations have been tested, like my purpose and career and different things that I long to do, all of these things have been, tested and tried. And honestly, if I could just be completely honest, like, some of those times I was failing the test. Like, I was going through and I was forgetting, who I am and who God affirmed me to be. And yes, in the first video, I found out, that Portia means an offering. So even though I decided to go deeper into that meaning and actually find out that I am, an offering to God and to the world, and that He does, wants to use me for a purpose, I still allowed myself to be discouraged. I still allowed myself to go into a slight depression when I was going through. I still forgot who I was. And I don't want that to happen to anybody else. So I'm back with part 2 of this video so that you all can get a glimpse of, the things that took me down. So here they are. I'm about to give you 3 things that make you forget who you are, and then I'm going to follow up with the scripture that combats those 3 things. So, number 1, rejection. Rejection is tough because it's a good thing. And a lot of times we don't see it as a good thing, because when we're rejected, from a job or an opportunity or something that we thought was for us, or maybe a friend or relationship or just anything, when you feel rejected, you feel like you're not good enough. And then it brings on disappointment, and disappointment leads to depression and all these other different things that have nothing to do with your destiny, that have nothing to do with who you are and who God says you are. And when rejection happens, you tend to give the person that rejected you power over you. And so now you think that their rejection diminishes who you are, and it, makes you think less of yourself because they didn't accept you, or it makes you feel unworthy because they had the power in their hand and you weren't worthy enough to be accepted by them. Instead, they rejected you. And right now, I am here to tell you that that is a lie. They don't have anything over you. They don't have any power over you. And you are affirmed in who God says you are. You are affirmed in yourself and in your beliefs of who you know that you are. So it is important to find out who you are so that when rejection comes, it can't be stolen away from you. The scripture that I use for that is Romans 8:31. And it says, I'm paraphrasing, so check the source. I'm going to put it on here. But it says, what then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, then who can be against us? And that scripture is so powerful because it allows you to know that if God knows the thoughts and the plans that He has for your life, then what He has for you is for you. And nobody can take that away from you, and nobody can give it to you. Only he can give it to you. Only it can come from him. And how can rejection and the people that you believe hold that power change your mindset about your promise, about your purpose? That should never be the case. So if you focus on knowing that if God is before you, then nobody can be against you, then you are able to stand firm against that rejection, and you are able to allow God to use you, to make sure that your purpose is aligned with his will, because he's the one leading you. And that rejection probably came because whatever it was that you were fighting for and you were yearning for wasn't for you. And if it's not for you, then God won't allow it. So you have to be thankful for those things, because he knows the thoughts and the plans that he has for you. And he's going to prosper you and give you a future and a hope, and he's not going to harm you. So that rejection wasn't to harm you, it was to help you. Every closed door is a yes to God. Every closed door, you're getting closer to where he wants you to be. Every closed door, you're furthering your purpose in your life to where God is taking you, and away from what could have been a distraction, which leads me to point number 2. Point number 2 for what makes you forget who you are is distraction. And distraction is horrible. Distraction is here to delay your productivity. When I tell you, I have been distracted so many times throughout this 3 months of trying to prepare and know who I am. Like, a lot of times we go through things in life, and those things weigh so heavy on our mind that they take us away from what we're supposed to be doing. And a lot of times we're distracted by things, relationships, people, situations going on, social media. We're distracted by all these things, and we don't realize that they're a distraction. We just feeding our brain into it, and then minutes go by, hours go by, days go by, months go by, years go by, and it's like, what do you have to show for the time wasted being distracted by that person or that thing or that timeline? Like, is that your strategy to destiny? And I cannot tell you enough how detrimental distraction is to your purpose. You should not be giving your time, your money, or your energy to anything that is not in alignment with your destiny. If it's not pushing you towards destiny or helping you get to your purpose, then that should not be your focus. And so for that point right there, I combat distraction with Isaiah 23:6. And again, I'm paraphrasing. It says, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on you because they trust in you. So if your mind is stayed on God, then he's going to give you a peace that surpasses all understanding. And that peace is going to keep your mind focused on him. So when you wake up in the morning, your first thing you're doing, you're not getting on your phone to check your timeline on social media. You're not calling that person that, distracted you and frustrated you the night before. You're not logging into whatever it is that disrupts your peace, because you want to go where there's peace. You want to go where God sends your mind to go. You want to go where God is telling you to go. Wherever you find peace is where you should be. Whatever you find peace in your mind is what you should be focusing on, is what you should be thinking about. Distraction, it harms your focus. And you have to have sharp focus on God and on the things that he is calling you to do in order to move forward. And the second part of that scripture says that you keep those in perfect peace because they trust in you. And that keeping your mind stayed on God is one of the most powerful ways that you can show God that you trust him. And his trust will take you far, because it also says in the Bible that if you trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, he will direct your path. So if you're trusting in him, then he's going to direct your path, and he's going to lead you to the things and the places that you should be. And lastly, the last thing that makes you forget who you are is comparison. When I say, I kid you not, comparison will make you think that you're a nobody. If you're, scrolling through your timeline and you see that people are winning and making moves, and they have goals that you want and they're doing them. You looking at all of that and you thinking about yourself like, wow, why am I not there? How come I'm, you know, 23 and not popping like they are? Or how come I'm not further along in my career like someone else is? That right there can eat you alive. And for me, what I had to learn is, don't let somebody else's come up deter you away from your glow up. Like, you're bound to glow up. You're bound to win. You're bound to, come back stronger from a setback than you ever came before. You're bound to progress in life. You're bound for elevation. You're bound for God to take you higher. So why look at what somebody else has going on and make you think less of yourself? Everything else that they're doing that you see that you want to do, it just takes your focus away from who you are and who you are called to be. What God has for you is for you, and what he has for somebody else is for them. Everybody has their own path. Everybody has their own way in life. And something that my first lady Sarah Jakes Roberts said, she said that when something happens to someone else and they come up, you have to know that your come up is going to be so much greater than that, because eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard, neither has it entered into the minds of men what God is going to do for you. So if God is going to bless you with an eyes haven't seen kind of come up, then if your eyes have seen it, it's not your come up. Like, you're gonna glow, and you're gonna glow with a glorified light that God decides to put inside of you. When he says to let your light so shine before men that they may see the Father's glorious works, is because he's going to do something so magnificent and so favorable in you that it will not be compared to what anybody else has going on. It's going to be for you and only you, and it's going to be in your path, and it's not going to delay your destiny and your purpose or try to tear you away from who you know that you are. Because when you're comparing yourself to others, it makes you feel smaller than what you know you are. If you feel like you're a giant, in the supernatural realm, in your spirit, in your heart, if you feel like you have a big giant heart, a big giant personality, and you're comparing yourself to somebody that you think is bigger, then it only makes you feel way smaller. And that's not what God has for you. That mindset isn't what God has for you. That's not what he called you to. So the scripture that I have to combat comparison is Galatians 6:4. And I have to read this one because I want to be so right when I say this, because it's self-explanatory. And it says, each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. Self-explanatory. There is nothing that somebody else has going on that is better than who you are. You're the best. You're amazing. You're beautiful. You're wonderful. You're strong. You're empowering. You're inspiring. And even though, people are placed in your view to inspire you, your biggest inspiration should be yourself and your accomplishments and what you've overcome. Just take your mind back to the things that you've overcome in life, the moments of your life that you're most proud of. And when you realize that there was a time that you thought that you wouldn't be able to reach that goal, or you wouldn't be able to cross that bridge, or, get that degree, or shake that hand, or whatever you feel has been a moment of a win in your life. Think back on that and tally all those up and dwell on them. Think on those things all the time, because those things are going to affirm who you are. And what somebody else has going on will not be on your mind, because that's their path and that's their thing. They're not worried about you, so why be worried about them? No more comparison. Over with. But yeah, those are the things that I have struggled with along this 3-month journey. So I'm, bringing them to you all because I want you to be able to overcome them how I have. And I will be back next week with part 3 of knowing who you are, and it will not take me as long as it has taken me for part 2, I promise you. So if you want to discuss this, leave comments in the comment section, and we can talk about this. We can talk about these 3 things. We can talk about things that you're struggling with knowing who you are. So make sure you just like, comment, and then subscribe so that you can get the fullness of this whole knowing who you are series, and we can grow and understand each other and understand who we are and who God has called us to be together, because it definitely takes a village. It definitely takes a village to do this thing right and to become who God wants you to be. Community is everything. So comment, tell me how you feel. I'm here to help you while I'm trying to help myself too. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, especially those who watched it to the end, because I know it's pretty long, but I had to get it out. I had to tell y'all, what's been going on and the things that have, distracted me in my journey to finding out who I am and preparing myself for this mighty move of God. I had to tell y'all what was up. But we back on the road. We back getting it. So I'll be seeing y'all next week for sure, for sure. Thank y'all. Bye.